You're listening to the Orisha Wisdom Podcast, episode 105. Welcome to the Orisha Wisdom Podcast, where growth and spirituality create an enhanced life's journey, balancing life with the wisdom of Egun, Ifa, and Orisha in our everyday lives. I am your host, Ivon. Welcome to another episode of the Orisha Wisdom Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of topics from our spirituality, espiritismo, Orisha talk, Alejo talk, brand new people, dealing with like our own development. This is a pretty big area that the Orisha Wisdom Podcast covers, and I would like to thank you for hanging out with me. This is an episode that you are going to want to have a drink for because I have it next to me. And I wasn't going to do an episode like this, but this one kind of jumped the line, and it took me a minute to kind of get the points together that I wanted to get together in order to bring it to you. And we're going to be talking about what we've been doing as a podcast in Orisha Wisdom and where this episode came from. And I don't know if you've heard episode 45, but we're going to be talking about that episode. And we're going to be talking about, in that episode, it was basically on about godparents and what it is that they do for us. And recently I did a live on YouTube, on the YouTube channel, and where I have been reviewing and reacting to past Orisha Wisdom Podcast episodes live, and we're able to chat about it. I am committing to 6 more weeks live on YouTube. So the next one is going to be on Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and I hope that you are there. And with that, we're about to get started. While we went back to episode 45, that was an episode at that time, Ask a Priest. And now we have changed it to Ask Orisha Wisdom because of certain turn of events. And the title of that was Ask a Priest, Why, oh, why do we have to get a godparent? In that episode, a young lady, I believe her name is Maria, she asks a question and we answer it in the podcast episode. However, I invite you all to go back to listen to it. I am not going to delete it. I am not going to re-record it. It is going to stay exactly where it is. And we have to kind of honor where we are in our journeys, because where we are is where we are. We have to honor what it is that we are working with at the moment. And what you have to know about me is that when I record, I'm looking for a particular note somewhere. And of course I can't find it. There was some notes that I wanted to discuss, but I'm sure they will be around. Dang it. They are somewhere. They're going to be somewhere. All right. When I record an episode, I basically never hear it again. And it's just, I'm moving on to the next thing. That's usually how it goes. There is only one exception in the entire podcast history, and that's episode 100, because that was fun how that started. And it was just an idea, but it was funny. So if you haven't heard it, hear it. And that's when the episode got hijacked. And it was awesome. So I really did enjoy that. So thank you to Dr. G. Wayne to help me with that episode. That was amazing. And if you guys haven't heard his podcast, go check it out. The Keys of Life. That is awesome. So go and check him out. All right. In the episode, we answer the questions to why we need godparents, right? The why we need, guidance, we need support, we need safety. These are the main keys that we cover, which all of these things do apply. But I'm going to adjust this because I have to see what I'm reading. All of these things apply, but some issues came about. If you have not seen the replay, you got to see it, because I don't know if you can tell my face. I was trying my best to keep it straight, but in my inner being of beings, I was cringing at some of the things that I heard, and I had to stop the recording in order to address them. And I did. I stopped it, and I realized, oh, snap. I need to rescind some of these things. So we're going to cover. I decided, you know what? If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And I am going to rescind teachings that I was taught. If you have not heard on either TikTok or Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, of course, the Unlearn and Relearn series, it started out as something quirky, because if you don't know anything about me by now, I have a sense of humor, and sometimes it's all off. So you just got to understand my sense of humor. And as it started out quirky, kind of funny, but there's a lot of truth to it. And there's a story to each and every one, or if not, a set of stories. So even though I say, things I've had to unlearn and relearn, and, Orisha and Espiritismo traditions, part whatever, it has a beginning. And even though I'm telling you the what it is or what it is not, I haven't even gone into the stories. And I have started to. I think I've only gone through like five of them, and that's about it. But if you haven't heard it, go. Some of them are a lot of you're like, yeah, but, or, oh, I didn't know that. Stuff like that. All right. So I wrote down rescind. Yeah, because I've learned some things differently now. And I wrote here in very big letters, I am embarrassed that I have to do this, but you know what? I'd rather me doing this, because I had to relearn as well. So here we go. I divided it into 3 sections for the now. And I want you to listen very carefully. In last week's live, which is why I am jumping this episode first. In last week's live, we had not only a babalao, but several priests, ranging from a year to, how many years does he have? I'm trying to think. 30. Okay, more than 3 decades, almost 4 decades. So we're talking about from Ifa to Olorishas there. And I'm putting you that out there so that you can understand. And if you go into the YouTube live for last week, you're going to be able to read the comments that were there. And I realized, I think, I spoke to one of my besties right after, and I said, I feel like shit. I think I have to really address the fact that some of the things that I was taught, which I was talking about, are fully incorrect. And I'm here doing that. So here we go. Number 1. In that episode, in episode 45, I state that you need a priest to give something to the Orishas. Especially if you don't have Orisha, you need a priest to speak on your behalf. That's what I was taught. I was taught that let me make sure, because some of these mesh together. Okay, I'm going to make sure. I was taught that in that other place, not here, not where I'm at today. Okay, so back in episode 45, I was taught that you just can't go, for example, let's use the same example that we used on the live. You can't go to the mountain to give something as a gift to Obatala because Obatala may not be there. And you need a priest who has Ashe to speak on your behalf. And here is where that is no. What I have learned is that if you do not have a crown, actually, that let me take that back as well. If you're not crowned, because you already have a crown, everyone has a crown on their head. You have your own Ori, okay? So if you haven't gone through that initiation, that does not mean that you need a priest for every single thing that you are going to do. I'm going to repeat that very slowly. If you do not have Orisha crowned on your head, you are allowed, can pray. You are allowed to go to the elements and to give an ademu or even an alademu, something cooked from your heart, to the Orishas. I'm not going to mention the ebos because usually they tell you how and the what. So this is not ebos. Like the ebos, when I say ebo, is what is marked from a reading. So if you go to Ifa and they cast, the kings, the opuele or the opele, and then an ebo comes out that you need to cook this and you need to deliver it here. Like, we're not talking about that. We're talking you want to give gift A to Orisha X and you don't have Orisha X. You're very grateful, or you have a special request or something like that, right? That's an ademu. That's a gift. And guess what? You can. So I'm going to give you some examples. When I was basically thrown out of my egbe, my family, like all that stuff, I was thrown out like yesterday's trash. I was devastated and I was lonely and I didn't know what to do. And I remember various priests, bona fide priests, they said, why don't you go to, the river, the woods, the crossroads? And I'm like, no, I didn't know what to do. I honestly was pretty stuck. And we were taught to be so dependent. And I mean dependent. We're about to go into more. That I wouldn't do it. And I went from a transition of thinking that I was still a priestess to back to an alejo. And that happened just so abruptly. So they said, but you could still go to the elements. And I'm like, because I was so taught not to do that. And it took a long time for me to do what I'm about to say. So of course, everyone knows now I have godparents. That is not a secret. And I remember something came up. And my godfather says, well, why don't you give this to Yemaya? And I'm thinking Yemaya's in a box. Even though that's not her. She's in a box. Like, I still haven't been able to kind of deal with that. And he goes, baby, all you need is to put a candle, a glass of water, and you talk to her. And I remember just going, you can't see me, but I'm like, nope. My head is going from side to side. Nope. Because I was taught not to do that. Not to do that. And I was taught, well, you can't have an altar. And if you go through a lot of the past podcast episodes, no altars. And it's interesting to have many priests who are much older than anybody in my former place, because they'll tell you that's not how it was. Not everybody was a priest back in the day. There were very, very few in between, but everyone loved Orisha. So did they just always go to that Orisha's house? He's like, hell no. We all had a little spot in our houses for that Orisha that we really were close to. So let's go back to the example of Yemaya. Then there was probably like a little, I don't know, seashell or something right there. That was her little spot. And they would light a candle. They would put a little cup of water and they would talk to her like this and mother, blah, 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 blah. Right? And I remember, and this was a while ago, and I still haven't done it. It's like, it's still so ingrained that I haven't done this, that my own godfather told me that I could do. He goes, listen, you want to pray to ex Orisha? I said, yeah. And I know about going to the elements now. I'm quite okay with that. And he goes, get a little picture. You make art, don't you? Put a picture up. And then whenever you can, just put up the picture, put up the little glass, and put up the candle. I still haven't done it. FYI, you can. Here are some notes for you. Imagine a town that is full of chiefs. It's no good. You have no town to lead. Imagine a Catholic church full of priests and nuns. There's no parish. Not everyone can be a priest, but everyone still can venerate, right? Everyone can still pay homage. Not everyone was crowned. I even wrote that. So yeah, I kind of got ahead of myself. Not everyone was crowned, and not everybody had to go like, oh, I want to say thank you to Yemaya because of whatever. I got to go to my priest's house. No. They would do their little offerings, and then they would take them because they had some instruction from there. So simple ademus are simple gifts. And alademus, cooked gifts. You could go to the elements. You could leave it in their places. Now, I am going to here's a little caveat. Knowledge is important. For example, if you're going to go to give something to Obatala because you really love what Obatala has been doing, or you would like to pray to him for whatever reason, you're not going to bring rum. We're not bringing palm oil because that's a no-no. So it's good to have knowledge from the priests, but there are certain things you can do. You can do on your own. So imagine if you want to do, a prayer to Elegba. It's okay. You go to a crossroad, you drop 21 cents, you say whatever you're going to say. You don't have to say Mojubalofi, Mojubaloro, Moju. That's for the priest. That's okay. Mind you, I know many Aborishas that know that damn prayer. And I say damn prayer with the most respect. I know people that are very hungry for information and they know the prayer. However, I will say this. That prayer goes in tandem with your lineage. So if you learn it from a basic book, understand that if you decide that you are going to be crowned or go under a godparent, you're going to have to learn his prayer and his prayer, or her prayer, and like that godparent's prayer only. Okay? Now, back to this. I wrote number 1. You do not need a priest to give a simple ademu or even a lademu, that's a cooked one, to an orisha. If you do not have orisha, you can do this on your own. But you do need some instruction. So don't you go giving some crazy stuff just because you thought about it or you watched some video. Like, you need some instruction. So I do agree with parts of episode 45. I agree with some parts. But you need instruction, which is why priests and godparents are very, very important, okay? Now, let's move on to number 2. I was taught, and in that episode, let me tell you when that came up, I hope that you can't see it in my face because I tried my best to keep it straight. We were taught that whenever you give an ademu, you have to cast after an ademu. And that was a nope. Like, I was freaking out when I got to, one of these days I'm going to sit down with my godfather asking him, what was it like to have me? Because the only thing I can imagine that I was un mar de pánico, a sea of panic. because I thought I was doing everything wrong from the beginning. It was like I was paniqueada all the time, just full of panic. There is no reason when you give an ademu to now have to bring out coconuts or shells to do no casting. That's what I was taught. Unfortunately, I'm embarrassed to say that that's what episode 45 said. I rescind that 100%. If it is an ebo, and I wrote this in brackets over here, you already have the ebo instructions. You already were told. It already came in a sign. So let's say, I don't know, what do I have here? I have here a pair of glasses and I have a pen. You have to give a pair of glasses and you have to give a pen to, I don't know, a legua. And you have to bring it to the crossroads. Great. So after you do that, you're going to take out coconuts and you're going to do it. They already told you to do that. Just go do it. They gave you the instruction. So that's why what I'm about, everything that I'm saying does not go into the abos, because they're already going to give you the instructions. Now, if you did not go to a reading and you want to give them the glasses and the pen, and I'm just putting that because it's close by. So obviously it would be something that it's for the Orishas, which is why we need instructions. People, we need priests. It's not like we're going to do things on our own. This is not an individual thing. No, you do not need to cast after that. You do it, you say thank you, and you keep it moving. Okay? And I was taught that way. I said it that way in episode 45, and I fully 100% rescind that. Something from the heart. You do not need a priest there to cast to see if it was accepted. That's what we were taught, which was interesting because we had a lot of visiting priests who thought that that was amazing, but that brought an added complication that was not necessary. Plenty of priests were on the live this past Thursday, and the comments poured in. One of them wrote, and I'm paraphrasing here, Orishas will confirm that they've received your gifts. Thank you, Baba. We know who you are. And this will be done either in a drumming. It can be done even in a reading. It has come up where, and they were saying their experiences. This is, because that came up interesting for me as well, but I didn't even think about that at the moment. But even the priests were saying, no, they see what you do. They see it. They're not blind. It's like if you've ever been on, I don't know, TikTok, Instagram, and all of, they're like, oh, I'm going to tell, you're in trouble because I'm going to tell the trees and I'm going to tell the flowers and they're going to tell whoever, and then they're going to get you. It's like they all talk. Nature talks. The elements talk. All right. And let's see. Oh, and they may also tell you in a reading that they have seen your efforts when you give them whatever it is from the heart for real. So they know what you've done. So I had to rescind that. I have to rescind that because that is not what I am learning now. That is what I was taught, and that is fully incorrect. Now, am I going to say ebos are different. That doesn't mean that if they like, a ram, you're going to go find a ram by yourself. No, we don't do that. We're talking simple ademus, like, I don't know, fruits, candy, candle, rum, cigars, honey. Those are simple ademus that you can give. There are some cooked meals that you can give, and you take them to where they need to go. Like, a lot of people have a lot of love for Oya, but they're not going to have to go to the cemetery. And you don't have to. You can leave it at the gate, 9 pennies, talk to her. You knock on the gate, you say whatever it is, you leave whatever it is on by the gate, and you keep it moving. It's not like you have to go do some crazy stuff in somebody's grave, people. We are talking to these elements and these aspects, and it doesn't have to be that complicated. So I'm rescinding that second part. Before we go to number 3, before we get to number 3, I want to remind y'all, if you haven't done it, go to the YouTube channel of Ivon Reborn. Please, if you haven't done so by now, subscribe, click on the little bell, since I'm going to be going live there first until I can figure out a way to go live on multiple platforms. We're not there yet, but we're going to be. I was trying to do it and it was just a disaster. So these were like the test weeks that we did that. Another thing, we still have the Etsy store of Your Spiritual Things. One of the biggest things that we've had, and it was one of the things, I painted this by hand, and now it's a print of the odus. And there's another one that I'm working on, which I'm planning on doing. So if you, I don't even want to say what it is because I want to make sure that it's there. We have the Orisha calendars. We have the spiritual quartz calendars. If you're still interested, go get them. They are wonderful. They're 12 by 24. When they're open, they're beautiful. Let me know. So that you can get a hold of them. Go to orishawisdom.com/Ivon, and that's I-V as in Victory, O-N as in Nancy, and you can go and check out Your Spiritual Things, the Etsy store for all the fun things. We have stickers. We have, I think I have to post the Orisha stickers from last year's calendar art. Oh, they're gorgeous. They're like 3 by 3. They're gorgeous. They're gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And there are mugs, there are stickers, there are things. So you want to support me? That's an even exchange, I think. You get something you like and you get to support me. And I truly, truly appreciate it. And as well, we're going to be activating more the Patreon communities. Go to patreon.com/Ivon Reborn. And you can find us also on the orishawisdom.com/Ivon, and you're able to support me with all of these endeavors. I'll be going live for the next 6 weeks on YouTube. We're trying to figure out what works best for you as the community. So 7:30 p.m., put this on your calendars. I'm doing my best to schedule them so that you can have that. But if you click on the little bell icon, then you're able to see it. So Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be going live. And whenever you see my posts, engage with them, because algorithms these days have been wild and wild. I'm just saying, like, sometimes people are like, we haven't seen your stuff in ever. So if you engage more, forward it, and do all the things, then we're going to be great. All right, let's go to the last point that I have for today. Some people are going to feel some kind of way about this, and at this point, it is what it is. Number 3, in the episode 45, I say that if you go to a drumming and you get told something by an Orisha, you need to get a reading afterwards to confirm it. Oh, this was interesting. That's a no. Let me explain. What I was taught is that if you go, let's say, to to a drumming, right? To a Guido, whatever it is, and an Orisha tells you A, B, C, you have to go back to your godparent to get a reading to see if the Orisha A, B, C was right, or if it was true, or a confirmation. So let's talk about this. That's wrong. Very wrong. But there's a nuance. So we're going to talk about the nuance and the why this is a nuance. What I was taught is that if I go especially to an Orisha that was mounted to a priest that is outside of our spiritual house, and actually also people who were not even in our house either, with the exception of one, that's the only one that we had to believe, and everything else was questionable. I have now learned that's no. That is a no. I rescind that 100%. And again, this has taken some learning. Now, let's go to the nuance. It is important to have a godparent or a representative with you when you go to these events. And it is good. We discuss, I do stand that in episode 45, there's the safety, who's going to take care of you. Let's say that an Orisha talks Yoruba, tells you 20 things. You don't know what they said, right? You don't know what they're telling you because you don't know Yoruba, and that's okay. But if you don't have somebody that you could trust, that is at least knowledgeable of what the hell is going on, and the person who steps in that don't know you, don't know anything, they don't even know half of Yoruba, what they're saying, they may give you a very small part of the message that the Orisha just told you, but you won't know that. So it is important to have someone there that you trust and that is knowledgeable. So I still stand by that. That is very, very true. But to have this, that you have to get a reading after each Orisha message, especially when it's not from who you think is whatever, there's issues with that. For one, it raises distrust in Orisha and in the community. That is a problem because where I came from, that already raised, we didn't trust anyone unless it was in the house. We didn't trust anyone. And we were taught that way. We were taught that ellos no saben nada. They don't know anything. They're just fake mounting. Everybody was a fake mounter. Everyone was a fake mounter. So you were only dependent in the house, and that's not how it should be. So here's another thing I put here under big letters. Fake mountings happen. Yes, it is true. It does. Some people fake mount. But a godparent or a legitimate priest who's there to represent you can guide you through that. For example, if they fake mount whatever Orisha, I will still be respectful and I will still show respect. And besides, even me being me right now, I still don't go to any drummings by myself at all. This is before I had a godparent. I would ask people that I knew that were my elders, which are everybody now is my elder, right? And they, I would see if they could accompany me and represent me. And if not, then we wasn't going. But now that I have a godfather, I'm like, can I go? And he probably would say yes, but I wouldn't go by myself. And I would always have can so-and-so come with me? And so-and-so, because I always had backups. And I've never gotten a no, but I had that backup of having other priests, which have their tenure in this, to come with me. Because there are many things that could go wrong. And I don't want that. However, I just want you to know that this has been a journey for me. So if you're new, I can understand why this is a journey for you, but this is also a journey for me. But if you've heard episode 45, there are many things that are true. I still will agree to that, but there are some things that I don't know about, and I chose the top 3. So we're going to go through them. 1, you do not need a priest to give a simple ademu to Orisha. Yes, you can go to the elements. Yeah, you can go to the elements. That's okay, baby. You put a candle, a glass of water, and you pray. You don't have a blue candle for your maya. That's okay. Get a little white tea light and you do your prayer, because it is about that prayer. It is about what you're doing. It's not about the elaborate whatever it is. Okay? 2, no, you do not need to cast with no coconut and no shells and no nothing after an abo or ala demu. You have no idea how stressful it is, to the point that when I had to go touch a coconut, I would make myself scarce. It's almost like I wanted to puke, throw up, and go poop and everything all at the same time, because it was a stressful time if we didn't cast right. That's wrong. You don't need to do that. Orisha is not there to punish you after you've just gifted them something. So I'm rescinding that. And 3, no, you do not need to get a reading after an Orisha comes down in another place and they give you a message. No, you may need to double check a few things. If they may tell you, I think you need to go and get a reading for Ifa. Of course, go do that. But if they give you a message and you already know This is, this Orisha, I don't play around. So I'm going to give you a quick example of this. I went to an event. My godfather was there. He never need to worry about me. And I speak about this all the time. This was a great aña. I was in the back partying hardy like you don't even know. And when I got tired, I just plopped. It was great. It was like a chair right behind me. We were partying in the back and I didn't care what was going on over there. I was just enjoying the music, enjoying the whole thing. And then everything just stopped. Right? And Orisha started coming down. Several Orishas started coming down. All I know is my godfather at one point said, "Mira, ven acá." And I'm like, okay, I'm coming. It's like, and it was funny. We were all like a mother duck with all the ducklings right behind. We were like that. It was hysterical. And, of course I know the drill. So you get down, blah, 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 all the things. And Orisha speaks. Orisha gives a message. Some things I understood, some things I didn't understand, but he was there to translate. We're all good. Perfect. And at the end, it was very weird because I didn't know how to say, well, are we going to get a reading to see about that? I wish I could share it because my godfather has the funniest looks like, what? He's like, listen, what you just saw is an obaz oya. And that Orisha is amazing. I'm not questioning shit. And I'm like, okay. That was it. That's all we needed to know. So if you already know, listen, that Orisha comes down on that priest, take that, to the bank, then you do that. And in the beginning, you know what? Nothing may be perfect and things may get crossed, but this is why you do need guidance when you go to these places. So remember, you do not need to get a reading after an Orisha message is given to you from other people's drummings. God, don't do that. It's so wasteful and it makes you dependent and it also makes you leery. Don't do it. All right. And I think I may need to add this to the Unlearn and Relearn series. If you haven't caught it, go do that. But I wanted to say, you know what? We've reached the end of this episode. What'd you think about it? 1, have you heard episode 45? If you haven't, go listen to it because why not? And I've already told you the things. Go to orishawisdom.com/Ivon. That's I, V as in Victoria, O, N as in Nancy. Go check out your spiritual things. Go get yourself a calendar or 2. Go get the stuff. Support, share, and let's do the community. If you haven't signed up or subscribed to the YouTube channel, do that. And that way you can participate in the lives. I'm trying to figure out what it is that the community, because before we were much stronger on the Facebook group, but that seems to be not where a lot of people are. So we're going to move a lot of our operations to YouTube. And I wanted to ask you, what did you think of this episode? Of these 3 things that I now am rescinding 100%, what'd you think about it? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you a priest? Are you not a priest? Do you know a priest? Why don't you ask a priest? Find out if what I just said is true or not. But I'm telling you, that room was full of priests and they agreed. And I wanted to do face palm because that was embarrassing. But at this point, you know what? I'd rather us all learn together than not. All right. So I just wanted to say thank you for you hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed your tea, your coffee, your water. I have next to me some green tea. I hope that you have found this helpful. Share this, comment, engage. And like I said, I love you all very, very much. Thank you so much for supporting the Orisha Wisdom Podcast and all of our endeavors. Until next time, may your elevated spirits, may your spirit guides from all of your spiritual courts, your eguns, your ancestors, may all of Orisha bless you immensely. Until next time. Thank you for listening to the Orisha Wisdom Podcast. Be sure to check out the show notes at orishawisdom.com/podcast. Can't get enough of Orisha Wisdom? Check us out at orishawisdom.com and subscribe to our community. Remember, the wisdom of Egun, Orisha, and Ifa is all around us. Be blessed, and until next time.